Hello, and welcome back to the Universities Academy podcast. I am your host, Matt Childress, and with me, of course, as always, is the one and only co-host, Mr. Chris Smith. How we doing, man?
I am tired, but good. Very good. Very, very busy week for the MHA CCG. Very busy in life, as always, because, I'm old and I work a lot of hours, so I'm tired. But good. So
Yeah,
yourself?
dude.
How are you doing,
So
Matt?
I feel you there. As two old heads, we have to get a good night's rest, and work and games
Mm-hmm.
are not on the same page as us sometimes. You know what I'm saying?
No.
So we got to figure out how we make it work. But uh, to your point, yeah, it's been a pretty eventful time since our last episode.
Yep.
And with that, there's been some events, there's been some news, and we just kind of want to catch up and talk to everyone about it, kind of give our thoughts and our 2 cents for what it's worth on these things. So let's start with events. And
Sure.
we can talk about also. There's been some product stuff kind of announced and all right. Like they've
Oh,
told a little
yeah.
bit more
Yeah.
about like the class collection thing, right?
That, Undaunted Raid, some stuff
Yeah, and
snuck
set five
out.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, Set 5 stuff snuck out.
All right, yeah.
So,
Let's
yeah, it's
let's talk
all.
about that real quick. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's way more exciting than all this other stuff.
Yeah, it is.
So set five, Undaunted Raid. I know I saw earlier some pictures of product, and
Oh, today? Oh,
yeah, for some
yeah, I
some
saw that
pre-order
too.
action, and it looks like my boy
Yeah,
Mirio Lemillion
yeah,
got a starter, and they're singlet starters. They're not the dual one.
yeah,
It's him and Overhaul, and they're singles.
yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah, it is. I'm interested to see if they deviate from the 1x method of starter decks, because through the grapevine at the HLC and elsewhere, I've heard that they're getting away from the 1x stuff, so we'll see if that's true or not.
Yeah, and you
Because,
mean 1x copies of cards in there, like the one foil
yes,
copy
yeah,
that's exclusive.
like the
Yeah,
one,
I
like,
hope so,
because
man.
like I don't even care if they're both foil. Like you can go one foil, one non-foil, or kind of do not. Or hey, drop the price by $10 and don't give me any foils. I'm okay with that too, by
Yeah,
the way.
so let's talk about that real quick because the price point for these that I saw was like 18 or $19 for one
hmm
deck. And
That was like the Eraserhead and Endeavor decks too. Were about the same price, I
were
believe.
they? I thought they were like 15.
Yeah. Nah, they were close to $20 each. Yeah.
Dude, that's
Sure.
crazy because like you can get the Clash deck with All for One and All Might for $30.
At BestBuy.com.
I mean, I'm
So
not plugging a store, but for 30
I'm,
bucks and
I'm
like
just
that's two
saying, man.
decks, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like I don't know, man, like I'll be interested to see if the previous model of like random ultra rare and other stuff like that holds true to your point. Maybe they're changing up the foiling, maybe they're changing up the count. But at almost $20, like I need some other value there because
Very true. Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and make the prediction that next set's going to have actual zero value again because they also announced that there's going to be chrome rares in the next set.
I don't know because like there's supposed to be 6 ultra rares in this set. Not
Six
ultra
secret
rares,
rares.
6 secret rares.
Yeah.
So you're looking at a secret rare per box on average now.
Yeah,
So
sure.
maybe that helps alleviate some of the chrome rare hunting, plummeting the secondary market.
I mean,
Maybe.
all it does is
Because
it just
like
means that secret rares are going to be more abundant because
yeah,
the thing is that if let's say if 100,000 boxes got bought of set three, right? And let's say normally it was 50,000 boxes. So it was double.
yeah,
And that's why the value sank so low because people were just trying to find
yeah,
chromes. They're
chrome
still going to
rares.
sell
Yeah,
100,000 boxes when people are looking for chromes. So yeah, I get what you're saying. Like in that way, instead of just being two secret rares that get completely flooded, there'll be six. So those will have a little bit more value. But all your rares and
yeah.
your ultra rares
Oh yeah.
are just
Oh
going to
yeah.
have
I,
no
I yeah.
value. So like,
Well, I'm hoping that maybe we get the set 4 trend where set 4's kind of held its value
yeah,
since
well,
release. So maybe
but the
we
thing is,
get
there's no chromes in
lucky.
set four. Like set
Yeah,
four is more like set
understandable.
one as far as value, which is great because it
Yeah.
means that the cards are pretty good power level wise. People want them.
hmm
An average number has been bought. It wasn't flooded. You know, there wasn't a run on it, and
Yeah.
then the secondary market got flooded. So it feels pretty good when you buy a box. You can still get your dollar value out of it between the ultra rares and XRs and stuff. Whereas
Yeah.
with set
Yep.
three, unless you pulled a chrome, you lost money on the box probably.
hmm
Um,
I want to say, well, as of now, like if you pulled a chivalrous, you basically got half your box back now. So,
Okay, sure.
so,
Yeah, but that's a quirk pack card also, right? Like,
quirk pack card, yeah,
yeah.
which should be on redemption eventually. I think we've talked about this in the past, where redemption should open up to quirk packs. Like maybe like set 1, set 2 happens when set 5, set 6, and you just go down the line. You split them up.
I feel like
in distance,
if you're gonna
so,
do that, you do it whenever your print run ends for that set.
Yeah.
Does that make
very
sense?
true. I would think so, yeah.
If you sell out quick, then cool. We can buy the quirk pack cards that are unobtainable now as loyalty points. Like I think that's the way you do that, because you don't want to decentivize sales. Like we as players are like, why are they on there? I want these cards. But then as a business, you're like, we have to sell product to keep making you more cards. So shut up.
Yeah. But that also goes to the argument of like all exclusive promos really should just be alt arts, but that's a different story for a different episode.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and and alt arts even further. Like I think they're onto something here with like the sealed alt arts and all, right? Like people really like those. They're doing well. I wouldn't be surprised if we see them lean more into that. I still think that doing alt art characters is the way to go. Like I personally bought the board game. In that way, Midoriya. I bought the Midoriya and I got a board game with it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the way I felt about the purchase. And the board game's not bad. Like I liked it. I played it at Gen Con. It was cool. Yeah. But I wanted that alt art character that badly.
I don't know if I know they also said something about their pre-release is changing. I don't know. How much did we talk about on the last pod? Because I know the last podcast was 2 weeks ago, technically.
Man, it don't matter. We can revisit it. It's fine.
The pre-release format is different now. We have pre-release kits where you'll get a set amount of packs, and then you also, because we talked about the character slot. That's how I remember that. Because you get a character in every pack now. So sealed should be a little more not easier, but a little more not as heavy-handed on character selection.
Yeah, it's more forgiving as a format, right?
That's the word.
Yeah, you can. The odds of you not getting a character that's playable with enough cards to build something drops drastically when you're guaranteed a character in every pack. Like the chances of you getting 6 copies of the same character or 3 copies of 2 characters is pretty low. It's not impossible, but it's pretty low. But even then, you still had 2 characters, so that's potentially 50% of the symbols in the game. So it just kind of depends. If there's symbol overlap on characters, that smooths it out as well. I'll be interested to see how that plays out. But yeah, the Undaunted stuff, like the announcement that Chrome rares are coming back is huge, I think. And that's exciting. Like, we have our Chrome rare tracker, which if you guys haven't checked out, go over to universalsacademy.org and make sure to check that out. I updated it just recently.
Link in the description box.
Yeah, link in the description box down below.
Link in the description box.
There you go.
Yes.
I forgot something every time, right? And I updated it just earlier this week with some of you guys had submitted some and I had missed them. And then I know there's some that Lenoco has sent my way as well that I need to catch up on. Cool. It's a little bit of it's not a tedious process. It just takes a minute, right? Like, life's just been crazy, like we've talked about before. So, we'll get there. We'll get it updated for you, and we'll probably end up launching a new one. If it's something that you guys have enjoyed, then we'll do that again for set 5 and try to track those Chrome rares once we know what they are.
What's the number one Chrome you want from set 5? Like, you can pick any. Just say Undaunted Raid. Anybody in the Undaunted Raid anime arc, who would you want to pull as your Chrome?
Oh, hands down, it would be Lemillion. Yeah.
Really? Okay. Cool.
I love that character. I love that character.
Okay. Yeah. I would want Super Saiyan Blue Deku. That's what I want. I want.
Where he
100% full cowling with the blue hair. Yeah. That's what I would want.
Yeah, he'll probably be pretty nuts if he's in that set.
Let's go.
Which I guess he kind of has to be, right? Like there has to be some version of Midoriya.
And that one at least, yeah.
Yeah, and that's a super iconic moment for him too. So I bet that version is going to be bananas. Might finally be my boy's time.
That's probably going to be a secret rare when he's coming out of the sky.
God, the Infinite Fist, the One Punch Man scene. Yeah,
the Infinite Fist is definitely going to be something. Has to be, right?
Yeah, it's such cool artwork. They have to use it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it'd probably be Lemillion, but like I said, I really like that character. Yeah. I'm hoping that he's good. Now that he's a starter deck, I'm definitely going to pick up, I guess, my 2 or 4, depending on whatever they end up doing with the 1X or 2X or 4X. 4X, please do 4X.
Oh, God, that'd be so amazing. Can we just do like a $12 starter, no ultra rares or foils? Character could be foil, I don't care. But
dude, no, bump that. Don't even do full characters. Make us get the XR characters or just do alt art characters.
There we go. Boom. There we go. Solve the problem.
Cut this price down to like you're saying, like $10, $15. Let's go. You know?
Yes.
Um,
I would be fine with buying 2 of them at $10 a piece. Easy.
yeah,
Easy.
yeah.
Dude, I'd probably buy 3 just to have extras of the
Just about
cards.
to say that's kind of what I ended up doing with those Clash decks, man. I was like, do I really need to buy 2 more? And I was like, yes, I do for these 4Xs, and I guess I just have extras of all these other cards that are also good.
Hey, I got 4X extra determined. That's not a bad thing.
Darn. I guess I can build all the decks. But yeah, like I'm pretty hype about set 5, man. Like I like that story point in the anime anyway. Surprise, surprise. But also, like I said, knowing that Lemillion's in it, I'm wondering if Night's Eye is going to be in it, maybe, because that's his agency, you know.
Okay, so that's one character I'm super hyped for. Is Sir Night Eye, because I like him. I like his quirk a lot, and I think he's a really cool character in that arc. So, I mean, they got to, right? Like,
I would hope so.
it would be really neat if they did this for kind of like old heads would remember this, the KOF teams, right? Like you have 3 characters, they all share 2 symbols, but then they all off symboled a 3rd symbol. So what if we had, like, let's say Fat Gum and Kirishima and Sun Eater? They all would say it's a Earth and X, and then they all changed the 3rd symbol.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be kind of cool? That would be super neat, right? Like,
That could be cool. Yeah.
I think like almost like a mini team, and then like that'd be really neat. And then like you'd have like overlap in their set. So like in the set they'd have like overlap, like their gimmick, like say like the King of Fighters guys all cleared stuff out of card pools,
Right.
and like maybe something happens like that where they all share like a cool gimmick, and they all like, so you have like a built-in support system. Like normally you do that in a set anyways,
Right.
but like this way you can get away with making smaller kits, but you could also, because we have like 18 characters in this set.
Yeah,
So
that's the other thing they announced. Didn't they? Like it's a pile of characters. Now we don't know if those are all full support characters or some are like a character just in isolation.
Like set 2, like set 2 had like their full support, and then they had like a bunch of DLC back page. So
Yeah, well, and then set 3 was just a whole bunch of those DLC type characters. Like here's a character, here's a foundation and attack, or here's an asset or action or something. So, either way, that's a lot of new characters to introduce to the game. So that'll be cool. Just yeah, and yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, did they give an official release date?
They said a tentative release date of, it was like the end of June, I think. It was
Okay,
like June 30th.
So
and
May.
Pre-release would be June 23rd, release the 30th for tentatively, they said. So,
well, so like
anything.
That means in May we have the class reunion thing coming out, and then the next month you have set 5. Like,
yeah, that's crazy. That is nuts.
Yeah, like they are definitely getting their cash. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, that also means that Gen Con will probably be the first event that set 5 is actually set 5 is actually legal at, like a major.
Yeah, first major like RLE level event or something.
Like RLE level event. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, which is interesting because that means, do you think we get set 6 before Nats then? Like if Nats is in November and it's
let me phone a friend real quick and I'll try to get you an answer. I have no idea. I don't know anybody.
Yeah, I mean, like, because realistically,
because your guess is as good as mine.
But say if they're about 3 to 4 months apart, then we should get it like that September to, because it's June, that's 6, right?
Yeah.
So then
it'd be like
7, 8,
June,
9, so that'd be September
late
or
September,
October,
early October,
which is about a month before Nats should be in November.
Nats would be the week before Thanksgiving. Please, I have that off and I need that now, please.
Yeah.
Hey, Jelly.
So
listen, Onoko, come on, give us a date. But
so if it's in November, which would mean it's about a month after the set release, I think that timeline kind of checks out.
Yeah, and then the HLC would be January again. Yeah, which would be fine, because that worked out, because that led into this year. I know people were mad about the content, the events gap, but man, you gotta take a break, dude.
Yeah, it's the holidays,
that was
whatever.
A grind and a half. Yeah, grind and a half. So, and no one wants to travel in December anyways, so that's just horrible.
Right. So
unless the HLC is in Chicago.
Unless it's in Chicago. There you go. Yeah, bring it to your house.
Nobody wants to travel here in the winter anyways, so why would they come here? We'd go to Vegas. So yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
Anywho, events though. Like, speaking of events, are we done talking about Set 5?
Yeah. Let's talk about some events, because we just had one. Yeah. Another RLE has come and gone, and it was down in Florida.
We did not go this time, so
that's fair. You and I did not go.
Yeah, we did not go. Yes.
We, the
There was
greater
100
community, just had another event.
there was 128, which was way more than I thought. I thought there was only gonna be like 50. I really
Yeah.
thought there was only gonna be like 50 people. So
Do you
shame on me, I
know?
guess.
You don't know what the numbers were last year for Kissimmee, do you? Like for Florida? Because I know we went last year.
I think it was less.
Really?
I don't know for a fact, but I think it was less. Yeah, I
If so,
think we
that's
had
a good
closer
sign.
to. Yeah, I think. No, I mean this year was less.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's what I was
I think there
expecting.
was. I think there was more last year, which I was expecting a numbers drop just to
Mhm.
do because it's not this grand push for worlds points. It's
Right.
you get Nats invites in a sick file season. By the way, my buddy Kyle, who got sixth with Death Arms, shout outs to my buddy Kyle.
Hmm.
That file season is gorgeous. It is
Yeah.
so cool looking. But yeah, anywho,
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know the exact numbers from last year, but man, that's great that people showed up
Hmm.
in a lame duck format. People were talking about with the Ojiro 2 thing, but dude, only one made it.
Yeah,
Well, one
one
made
made top 16, and it wasn't because
yeah,
he wasn't there. He was still the most
no,
played character there.
yeah, he was 25 out of 25. It was 25 Ojiros
Right,
compared
out of the
compared to
128,
yeah, which is crazy.
so almost a fifth of the field,
Mhm, mhm. Um,
and
the
one made it top 16, and it didn't win the event.
yeah,
Spoilers.
I heard that rounds 2 through the middle rounds, like 3 through 6, they all mirrored each other. All the Ojiros, they hit tails. They tap tails a lot, and they all knock each other out of tops. So that's what happened.
Well,
Was
I
what the
mean,
rumor is. Hey, that's what happens in
yeah,
card
but I say
games.
that's the risk, right? It just happens
Yeah, it's
sometimes.
a risk.
You gotta be ready
Yeah,
for
you
that
just
mirror
gotta play.
matchup.
Yep. The event was run by Ochako 2 in a very, very exciting finals match. It was really cool.
Yeah,
I know people don't like watching Momo matches. I'm one of those weird people that love watching Momo matches because if you've I don't know how I know you've played some Momo in the past,
yeah.
so you know all the interactions, you know the precious lessons, you know how to you commit commit for some minus speed, pop her ability, or commit minus speed, pop release. You know she's just a really good control type character, I
Well,
guess.
she's just defensive.
Yeah,
Like
she's
I
just
wouldn't call
defensive
her
in general.
control.
Yeah,
She's just
yeah,
defensive. Like,
defensive. Okay, fine.
and I say that in that way. She doesn't necessarily deny things from her rival outside
Yeah,
of damage, right? Like she's just playing
yeah.
defense. And
Yeah,
to
she's
your
playing
point,
a defensive control game, I guess, if you want to say.
yeah,
If you want
yeah,
to say
but
it in that way, but whatever.
yeah. So
Yeah.
this is where I'm going to show my old headness. And like to me, there's like hard control and soft control, and that's from different eras of the game. And I could tell you young kids a story or two about back in my day. Until you get seal assassination on your own ability, so that way you can commit things on your opponent's board using your cursed brokens or whatever they was. I don't want to hear about it. All right, until you're negating your own effects to do things, I don't want to hear about it. But that's for Ryan. Ryan used to do that all the time and loved it. Yeah.
Okay.
But all that to say, she just plays defense well.
Yeah. Very
And
well. Yeah.
you get rewarded. She does have like lots of microtransactions is the way I see that deck, like where it's like you have to make lots of individualized decisions, and then once you get good at making those decisions and understanding the game, then she becomes a much more powerful character. But like if you just pick her up and you try to start playing her and you've just played other aggro characters or whatever, she's not the most intuitive character. Like it's not obvious all the time what the right decision is with her. So given that, our
Okay.
boy Nate DeWalt ran her Swiss champed with her and then ran her all the way to
Okay.
finals.
I just want to say that I watched him play that deck in a couple matches. Obviously, he is like the Momo guy, I guess. I know like Kevin
That's how he got
Broberg
introduced
has,
to the
yeah,
the game,
exactly.
right? Like he's played Momo since set
Kev,
one,
yeah,
loves
step
that
one.
character.
So like, and like Kevin Broberg's played her, Travis
Yeah.
Tangiman's played her, whatever.
Oh yeah, lots of good
Nate
players have played her.
I think Nate has only wavered once, and that
Yep.
was with Kirishima 2, and I think that was it.
I think he might have played
I
another
know he's
character at
played.
another event, but yeah, for the most
I
part, it's
think
always
he's
been
played a. I think he tried. I think he played Eraserhead at the HLC. I don't remember,
that. Oh, okay.
but still defensive, whatever.
Yeah.
But he had the coolest interaction because I have added this card to my Death Toga deck is the Wild Wild Pussycats card.
Mm-hmm.
It has Ally on it. It also has Life, so it works with Momo. You back alley Birdmaker. You can build that in because it has ally. So you pigeon flock it in.
Yeah.
I call it back alley Birdmaker. So
Uh,
you pigeon flock it in next turn. Your next form is you flip it. You mill the top 3 cards of your deck. You get a foundation. Cool. We're looking for Face Shield. We're looking for I'll Protect You. We're looking for Rising Starlets. But what it also does is it shoves weapons into your discard pile to pick up later with Momo.
that's cool.
That is some hot tech.
Yeah,
So,
and then you just pop it when it's face down,
you just
and then you rinse
rebuild
repeat.
it.
Yep.
Yeah, it is. It. I saw him use the same copy maybe like 2 or 3 times in a turn because he would just use it, sack it, bring it in, use it, sack it, bring it in. It's just like holy.
Yeah,
Shit.
Mark
Like,
Tyner graced
is,
me with that interaction with his recovery girl, which can
nice.
also do that.
Yeah,
And
for sure. Yep.
yeah, it was cool, real cool, guys. Feels great. Yeah, no, it is a cool
That
interaction
was
though, for real.
really neat. It was a really cool interaction. You know, like the rest of it was all like, like he really valued bow staff a
Mhm.
lot in that deck because you get all your cool pieces with bow staff into
Yep.
your hand. Because as we know, with like the unfun stuff builds, the Kevin Broberg builds, hand management with that character is like we've always talked about it since set one. Hand management wins you games. Like if you go like you hit this certain breaking point in a turn, your opponent has X amount of cards, you have X amount of cards, and you're at X amount of life, you know you're gonna die because you can't block everything.
Right.
And obviously the deck cannon blasted you to death. It's just or home run commented you to death. It's just the way she kills people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
And that's
but
really, like I said, like that's really cool. And to your point about how people don't like to watch that, so I would argue that if you don't enjoy watching Momo or like Eraserhead or Midnight, these characters that can reduce speed and block, then you only enjoy half of the game. It's kind of like it's like watching football. If you watch football and like you're watching this like low scoring grind out kind of game, those are actually the like I would say better games because
those are my games.
Yeah,
I
because
love
it's
them.
competitive.
I love defensive games.
And
Oh,
look,
they're so
I'm a
good.
Clemson fan. All right, we don't like those games. We normally are just like let's hang 70 on them. Let's keep on going, right?
Yeah.
Like historically, not recently, but we had a lot of really close ones recently. But I enjoyed that, and I think that that's where you really get to see people's skill because what happens with a blowout is basically one person didn't play the game, right? And whether that's football or whether that's MHA CCG, that's how it feels. Like one person either was just ill prepared, or they just shouldn't have been there. It's the way it feels like. It's like when you 2-0 somebody and like they didn't hit you or they didn't get close to actually beating you. That doesn't feel good for them.
It doesn't feel great.
Yeah, I mean, like you can be as polite as possible, and it's still kind of like, I'm sorry, I feel like a jerk right now because I just trashed you, or your deck trashed you. And what I would say then is that refinement, like there's always more to learn from losing than there is from winning. And I'm sure that Nate has already made revisions to that deck or figured out things he could have done differently immediately afterwards. That he's like, oh, next time we're getting it.
One revision we'll talk about in a little bit, but I just want to say Christos Panos played Uraraka 2. Dude, he laid some hands on Nate in that first game. It was just like boom, hulking grimace. Doosh, doosh, doosh. It was that deck is wild, man.
So take me through it because I heard. All right, so I knew Nate was top seed, so he gets to go first, and he lost game one as Momo.
He checked pretty poorly at this point. That he must have saw like a kill, and he checked some threes. And he just wasn't able to reset his board fast enough.
Okay.
And and then it's like turn to dust, stun 2. If you full block that, here comes the stun grenade, stun grenade, and then like hulking grimace. And it's just like that does 26 pretty fast. It was spicy. It wasn't like a quick. It wasn't that game was like the games were super competitive.
Yeah.
And it was super close. And it's just like, Christos played like this. He had this really good, cool play where he had less foundation. So he's like, well, he got breaker blocked, and he's like, I'll go for the win, and checked it and just. Like, thanks, nerd. You gave me 2 for free, and he just kept going. But oh man, he was he was what I call the closet textbook how to beat Momo. You attack her every turn, no matter what's in your hand. You throw every attack because you can't let her get a foothold. Because I gave River some. River was facing Kevin at Gen Con.
Mm-hmm.
I believe Kevin might have been top seed. River was Jiro playing, going as bottom seed. Like River
Yeah.
had just snuck in, and River goes, Chris, how do I? Got any
Advice on the matchup?
tips,
Yeah.
advice? And I go, you're Jiro, dude. You attack every turn, no matter what you got in your hand. Just throw every attack because you scale better than anybody else in this game. And she can't deal with half of your attacks because they're flash. So you just chuck everything. It does not matter. Granted, River was playing the good version with
Mhm.
like capture nets and back alleys and stuff like that. So you got supplemental stun, which hurts Momo big time. But yeah, that continual attacking, like you got 3 attacks, doesn't matter. You play them all. You make them hit hard because she has to spend resources. Because there was times where Nate had 3 foundations left after defending, and he would have to spend an entire turn rebuilding his board, and then
Right.
Christos would attack again, and then it's just eventually Momo runs out of steam and she can't keep up.
Right, which is
Especially with
awesome design, by the way, because that's how her quirk
Yeah.
actually works. But even further,
Yeah.
I think the key takeaway there and what people need to understand is that Momo's costs are very real. Destroying a foundation is very much a real cost. Just removing a foundation is even more real cost because then it's gone forever. And she's going to do those things because she's going to do what she has to do. But if you force her to do that, it's kind of like I know a lot of people when you sit down across from It Can't Be Fixed or these other like anti-stun cards, they're like, well, I guess I don't get to stun the rest of the game. No, you just got to power through it. Like throw your back alley haymaker, stun 2, and be like, you want to flip it? Odds are they probably don't unless they think you're going to kill them that turn, you know? And then you just get to stun 2 them anyway. Or they flip it and you're like, all right, good, that one's gone. Like, sure, there's exceptions to that statement, right? If that character can pick up face downs, if they can just destroy it and pull it back, do other things like that, sure, there's times where that's not the right advice. But most of the time, when your opponent has something that kind of counters what you want to do, force them to do it. Like, put the burden of not losing on them. Like, it bothers me so much when people just play to not lose. They don't play to win. And that's true also in sports ball. You know, like I do not like the prevent defense where they're just like, we're not going to try to score anymore. We're up and there's like 3 minutes left in the game. We just have to burn the clock out. No, you score again. Dude, you keep playing and you make them beat you
all the time and they lose. The Raiders do that all the time and they just lose because of it.
Right. And sometimes it is the right call. You know, like I'm not saying when there's like 30 seconds left, do you just take a knee and end the game or do you go for it on 4th down? Like that's not what we're talking about here. Like, but you know, like so many times people just get in their own head and they just stop trying to win because they think they can't. And if you think you can't win, spoilers, you're not going to win.
You're not going to win.
Yeah. So yeah, like I props to both of them. Congratulations to.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry, I forgot a name already.
Christos. Yeah, Christos Panos, and he's from Florida, and then Nate DeWalt is from.
So he got to defend his home turf. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations, man. Props to you. You went with a 5 hand size character. I think there's a handful of people in the community, David Pena, who are going to reach out to you and be like, "Hey, how'd you win with my girl?"
I know, right? Like,
nothing but love.
After he won, I think David popped up in the Discord and just started celebrating. He's like, "I'm validated."
That's awesome. Know? David's a great dude, man.
Yeah, David's great. I love David.
Like I definitely was glad to see it. And with that, I want to plug again universalacademy.org because I've updated our metadata for the current set 4 meta. So I've taken both of the RLE top 8 results, plugged in what characters made it, what symbols were represented, and also what hand sizes have been represented. So you can kind of look at that data and try to get a feel for what the meta currently is in a very broad sense. But you know, local metas will change, but this is the data from the large tournaments, the ones that everyone's traveling to. So could help inform you there as you prepare for future events.
Yeah, because I think the next RLE is technically over in the UK, so the Europe one.
Oh, is it the Sheffield one or whatever?
Yeah, Sheffield one's I think is May 6th. I think Nick Reagan's going over there. Why? Because he's also a national citizen of England.
Oh,
so
cool,
yes,
cool.
He could technically, I think he can technically win a nationals invite from there because he's a citizen technically.
Ah,
so,
well.
I hope. I'm pulling for him.
Well, my stepdad lives in Sheffield, England.
Ooh.
Yeah, me and Mike have talked about this many a time.
Okay.
Back in old versions of game, I definitely considered
Mhm.
going because that's where it always had their nats, and I always considered going. But
Mhm.
that plane ticket's still real expensive, man. And
Ooh.
it's I've
Gross.
been before. It's a long flight.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But it's a cool place.
And then
Definitely would recommend if you can go.
at the end of the month is Kansas City RLE. So we'll have the collector's box cards out by then. So that will be a completely different
Oh
meta than what
yeah.
we're at now. So because those are legal on release, so that's kind of
Yep.
neat.
That's gonna be a
And
thing.
then I think the week after is the online RLE.
Oh yeah. That's like June 3rd or something, right?
Yeah, it's something like that. And I
Yeah.
think Pasadena is, I think in the Pasadena somewhere. I'm not sure where exactly.
Pasadena is like June 17th or so because that's the
Okay,
only
then it's
one I might be able to swing. Um,
oh.
because just because like teaching that gets me on the summer schedule, so at that point I'll have
Mm,
more time off and I might be able to make it work, but probably not because home ownership is a very real thing and
yeah,
it's
it is. It
expensive.
is.
Um,
Because I have a bunch of events like from the middle of May to the middle of June, and I'm gonna get in trouble because I'm gonna be gone every Saturday for like 5 weeks straight. So
whew,
yeah. Yeah. PSCs, RLEs. I'll be home for the online RLE, obviously.
obviously,
Yeah, obviously. I'll be playing them at PJs.
yeah.
So, but yeah, that's cool. Like, and then we've always got locals and shout outs to Boar's Hat Gaming, the best locals around. We have an awesome league going on. I'm still leading the league. That
Hey
mat is
now,
going to be mine.
grats.
But I just found out I'm leaving town the week of the 30th, so I'll miss a Wednesday. So I have to make sure my gap between me and River is big enough to where if I don't get any points, it doesn't matter.
Oh, he's coming for you.
So
Know that.
yeah, I know they all are. They all are.
Yeah.
So thank you. But speaking of that, I did play a character that's much maligned last night leading the podcast.
Who'd you
So
play?
and I played Ojiro 2 to a 2-1 finish. I was super greedy and didn't flip my buddy's pull no punches while I was going into deadlock. So I got punished. I got
Yeah.
punched-ished. I got
Punch
punched
ish.
in the face.
Yeah, stunt
Yeah.
two and plus two speed's a real thing.
Yeah. And especially if you add Deku things to it, it's even worse. And then one with nature, it's even worse. Yeah, it's just sometimes
Deku
you
only got to
just
hit you like twice in that situation. You game over.
it hit me 3 times. I blocked once. So yeah.
There you go. Yeah, but he only connected with two. That's what I'm saying. Like each
Yeah.
one comes across for
Yeah.
like 9+.
Yeah. I was at 18. He two-shotted me. Yes, he
Yep,
did.
told you.
That was cool. Yeah, it
I
was
play
cool.
that deck. I know.
Oh yeah. It was cool. But no, congrats to Carl. He was very surprised he beat the big bad guy, and I'm like, Carl, Deku can race him better than probably anybody because you do 10 point. You hit me for 10 each if I don't block anything. So
Right.
you
It's,
know,
it's all
but
just big
like
stats.
there was a point where I grayed out where he was committed out, and I drew one attack, and I had no way to get another attack in. So that sucked. So that's why I
Ojiro six
lost
hand
game
size
one.
problems.
Yeah, which is what Jasco thought would have happened to him,
Yeah.
obviously. But game two, I did 40 on turn two to him, so that was cool.
Wow. That's a
Did
big number.
40. Yeah,
I'm
did
guessing
40. It
you
was
built
sick.
a student of the art and had all three zones?
I
No.
had 6 attacks. I drew 6 attacks.
And
I
you passed
did.
them all?
I built 4 back alleyed,
Uh-huh.
and then I also was able to ready someone with style once, and then chop once after I rebuilt the face down. So I only needed 5, but I had Texas Smash in hand, so I went chop, karate chop. Well, I went back alley, chop, Texas Smash, lift, karate chop, Texas Smash.
Yeah.
So I
Okay.
did like a lot of damage. I don't know how much. It was like 4. It felt like 40. I don't know.
It's
I
it's
may be
more than enough.
overestimating, but it did more than 29. That's all that
It
matters.
did
So,
lethal.
but it did lethal. And then game 3 went forever, and then I made the blunder, and
Yeah.
yeah, I lost. I knew
So
I was losing.
one of those
The
games you
minute I
drew
passed,
hotter than the sun
hmm?
and just nuked him from orbit. You were just like, and
Oh, yeah.
dead.
Yep.
Okay. Well, that's
And then he did the same thing to me after I was an idiot. So it's
yeah,
all
yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah.
So
So
I
all
got my
right.
comeuppance. Yeah.
Wheels always
But
turning, right?
but like he is like leading to what our next topic, because I know we're getting short on time.
You're good.
Like he is unfair.
Yeah.
In his present state, he is unfair. So, like, there were games where people playing into me felt like they were like, well, you have it. And I'm just like, I'll poke you, build 3. I'll let you suffer. Because they know it's going to come and they have to set up defense so they don't get to attack me as much.
Mm.
You know, so I think that's the thing. He has that scare factor where, well, if I try to play 4 cards, I'm just gonna die because I can only block 1 or 2 things. You know, so
Right.
but big news happened today, no more
Yep.
than like 3 hours ago. Everyone is saved. Ojiro was errated.
Yep.
And for some reason, Ready Gets Set. Well, we all know the reason why, but Ready Gets Set Go got banned.
All right. So Ojiro is now instead of +1 speed and +1 damage, it's +1 speed or +1 damage on his first enhance. So kind of like we were talking about the other week, I think that's what I even mentioned, like make it an option, don't make him both. It kind of brings him more in line with like All Might 3, who has to choose between the two. And it kind of also caps out around 3. Which is roughly what All Might normally caps out at. Like sometimes you get to play against somebody and they foolishly hold on to 5 or more, and you're like, "Well, this is a free win, all right." But that doesn't normally happen.
Or you're playing the all symbol and just chivalrous a bunch of cards into their hand. They have no way to get rid of them.
That could also work. Yeah, they're just going to get rid of one at a time as they throw away blocks to not block. And then they actually went one step further. It wasn't just change it to an or. They also made his second ability commit to pick up, which means after you do it, you're not buffing any more attacks. What are your thoughts on Ojiro 2 now?
I think he's okay. Like, he's not... I like the changes. I'll start with that.
Okay.
I thought the commit cost on the pickup was going to happen. I think everybody called that. I think everyone was like, he's probably going to get committal to pick it up. Most likely. With that, I don't think you needed to do the or, but again, he could still kill people with 2 zones, so it doesn't matter. So I think that it makes him like the speed option for Earth decks.
Right.
That your aggro Earth deck now has a speed option. You have Sato, who is a stun option. You also have Kirishima 2, who is a damage option. So now you have your speed or damage option, which I think you mostly will pick speed if you go Earth, because all their attacks hit hard anyways. So,
well, it's all situational. And even further, I mean, like, it also, like, the damage option then, right? Like, off of water, he probably wants to add damage because you can probably just build it to clog card pools and add fake speed and stun and other things like that. But I don't know how I feel about these. Like, I'll go on record as saying I didn't think that he was, like, this NPE of a problem beforehand. Like, I think I kind of made that clear before. I think he's good. I think he high rolls with the best of them. But when I played him, and again, my list wasn't as refined as some of these other lists, I just never got that consistently. Like you're saying, it'd be like 1 out of 6 games, I get the God hand like you just described and nuke them on turn 2. You know, maybe 1 out of 3 games, I get that, Student of the Art down and it doesn't get touched and I can protect it or whatever. Now, granted, I did this, it was when he came out in set 3, not in set 4. Set 4 definitely added some more protection and some more gas to the deck. So this is, again, just qualifying that opinion on it. But I think he might be bad now. I'll be honest. Like,
I actually think he's kind of middle. I think he's kind of mid. I don't think he's bad. I don't think he's great.
I think he's going to be like K2 levels of unplayed.
I don't know. Like, I think he's still kind of... I still think he's going to be fine because on average, you're going to get 2 speed a turn, which is pretty good on every attack. That's actually pretty good. That's basically midnight levels without like Friends of Animals or
I would compare it to Eraserhead, but
Eraserhead, sure, that's even better
because it's a free +2 or -2 speed.
Look at All Might 3 on average. You're getting 2 speed on average.
Sure, and it's free.
So that's not terrible. And it's free, and then you get to snap up a card to either kill your opponent because you know you're not going to be able to add stats, his stats, I should say.
Yeah.
Or you pick up like that hardened uppercut or
that block you need plan for the next turn.
Block for the next turn, so you threaten the next turn with it, which I think that kind of aligns him with his character more. That he's more like a martial artist, more methodical.
Choosing his moment. Ha cha 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 cha.
Instead of I'm gonna monkey you, you know.
Yeah, instead of
So
just steamrolling things. I am,
yeah,
and I
just
could be
steamroll
wrong.
things.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah,
Maybe he's still
I could be
really
wrong too.
good, and he's gonna
I
show
could
up
be
and
wrong
start
too.
topping events. But I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say this dude ain't topping any more events. And to me, that feels
I
bad.
don't know.
Um,
I don't know.
like
So
like he had two versions of his character. The first one wasn't doing much of anything. The second one just came into prominence.
hmm
And I get it. Look, I understand that I'm in the minority here community. I get it. Okay. I know that a lot of people have a whole lot of animosity towards this.
Let Matt know in the comments below how wrong he is.
Yeah, it's totally fair. Um, but like I could see doing one or the other. Doing both to me seems real heavy. And
yeah,
granted,
I go ahead, go ahead.
I
I'll
defer
let you
and
finish.
trust the judgment of the individuals who made these decisions because I have not been playing a ton right now. I will also say I defer to the opinions of a lot of the people who have been complaining about this because they have been playing more than me. I'm just saying, in a vacuum, if I were to look at the character now, as he will be, and this is effective as of, well,
Monday,
yeah, the
24th.
24th of April. You may or may not be watching this until after that. So given that it's the 24th of April is when this goes into effect.
Yep. Yep.
But I just I don't know, like both seems, like I said, pretty heavy handed. It seems like it's really like, sweeping his legs out from underneath him, right? Like chopping his legs off. Like
I
I don't
know
know.
there's some data on that. I know that Andrew Holder played him in the OCE RLE, and
Yeah,
he said that he killed people with two zones a lot. Like he
sure.
didn't even need the third zone. He would just murder people by playing value attacks at +2/+2.
Right. But I
And
would
then
argue that if he had to choose between speed or damage, he probably doesn't kill those
oh
people because either an attacker two gets blocked
oh
that
yeah.
wasn't able to get blocked because it got
Oh
plus two
no, I
speed and two damage, or
oh I
it gets the speed and then it's not lethal, which
very true.
which to me is
Very
why
true.
the or instead of and was probably the thing that needed to happen. But the commit, I mean, granted, here's the thing: the commit is a very real cost that I'm complaining about, right? Saying I think it's a little bit extra as far as hitting him might be warranted, but like the reality is to your point, you're you're only gonna do that once it's already the fix is in, right? Like
Mhm.
otherwise, you're just gonna leave your character up and just keep playing those attacks that you already drew. Like if in the situation you described earlier, if you raw draw 5 or 6 attacks, you're just not going to use the commit
Yeah,
unless you
exactly.
get to the point where you're like, it's the last attack and I didn't kill him. Oh no, abort! I need some defense. Like that's it.
Yeah, for
Like
sure. Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
or print it on whatever attack you pick up that you can still somehow pass will
Yeah.
be lethal. Like it just, I don't think the commit changes the math a whole lot. But it may. It may. Again, I understand that by committing, he can't buff the attacks after that. And if you were to do it early, like let's say you played an attack, you student of the art, you play a second attack, and then you can immediately pick up and commit now, that really prevents him from going wild. But I also think that if he just has to choose between the stats, that's how he was actually getting there most of the time. So I don't know. We'll see. I just would be surprised if he is still
Can't
viable
pop.
enough to
Sure.
make a top cuts.
Yeah, sure, sure. We'll see.
Yeah.
Because like Kirishima 2 has disappeared.
Yep.
Which is sad because that character was really cool. I'd be really interested to see, like, I don't know, like any of these characters that have been. I kind of, I like the changes. Like, I'm not mad about the changes
Yeah. Oh, I'm not
whatsoever.
mad either,
Like,
just for the record. Like,
because I really like it was really weird because playing him for the first time ever last night on
mhm.
at locals, I didn't enjoy the level of pain it put on my opponents. I really enjoyed the mini game within the game. Like, I have this 3 card Monty I have to assemble to win, right? Like,
Mhm.
granted, it's easier than most, blah 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 blah. If I have student of the art or I'd have to raw draw them or whatever, but it's
Sure.
really fun. Like, I have this low, I have this mid. I gotta find this high somewhere. Where's it hidden at? That
Right.
where's it gonna come from to assemble the turn? Because sometimes +2/+2 doesn't get there. People play stat resets. People
Mhm.
play defense up the wazoo. Like last night's MVP was Karate Chop because
Mhm.
it has a
Caps.
Nojiro only enhance
Yep.
that says I get to flip a foundation.
Yep.
And that card flipped every defensive piece I could every time I played it. So like there's ways to like you could get around the defense, but you had to work at it. It wasn't just raw dogging 3 attacks and speed and damage and yeah. But whatever.
I fully agree. I think in his original form, probably a little too good. Probably should have always just said or instead of and. So again, I brought up on the screen for everyone the actual post from Jasco because there's some cool information here because it wasn't just like they said, hey, we're changing this, deal with it, nerds, but rather they explained as well.
Data.
Yeah.
Which is why I think took so long is that they were trying to compile all this data to make an actual informed decision.
Right. Well, and in particular with Ojiro, they were talking about length of games, and basically they understand that no one enjoys getting bopped on turn 2 when you go second, right? You got to play one turn of the game, you couldn't attack, and all you did is you built your, 3 to 5 foundations probably, and then you held on to a couple cards and you just hoped that you got to play another turn.
Yeah.
And that does feel bad. Can it still happen? Absolutely. And was it happening too much with this character? Apparently so. And they even addressed the why errata and not ban, which to me, I don't know, makes a whole lot of sense because I'm not a huge fan of banning cards. I think a lot of times if just you need to change like a word or some text, just do that. I don't know. To me, that makes more sense. I get that people don't like opening the card to not be able to know what it does. But I don't like opening a card to not be able to use it because it's banned. So,
yeah, I mean, like they could also do cool stuff with their loyalty points program and put these errated versions on there that you can pick up with your loyalty points because eventually everyone has 1 million loyalty points and nothing to spend them on. So yes.
So I want to read this section real quick just for the audio listeners as well, which it says why errata and not a banning. Says one of the strengths of the universe's TCG is allowing fans to experience characters from many of their favorite worlds combined together. Because the big characters in those worlds are a key driver of interest in universes, it's a problem removing one entirely from the game. That's why you'll see us biased towards errata for adjusting character cards, while bannings are reserved for non-character cards. And then, of course, it says, speaking of which, let's talk about ready, get set, go, which we're about to talk about as well. But like, I think that's an important thing for people to also realize. Like, at the end of the day, we made reference to it earlier. Like, this is a product; they have to sell it, right? If someone's favorite character is Ojiro, and the only way for them to get Ojiro is by going back and getting plus ultra set 1 cards, good luck. You can't get those. Yeah. This is the only one in a set. Now, I don't know whose favorite character is Ojiro, but there are some. I've seen people with Ojiro play mats and other things like that as well, sleeves, whatever. Yeah. So, point being, it's someone's favorite character, and they should have the opportunity to play that character. And just because you don't like what that character does, I don't think that means that the character's got to go. Yeah. I think that, if you errata them to where their power level is an appropriate level, cool. I mean, with Kirishima 1, they kind of errated him to where he's unplayable. It was a little too heavy-handed as well.
I think that's another reason why they waited so long is because they didn't want another Kirishima 1 fiasco where they just nerfed him into the ground.
Right. And that's kind of what this had the feelings of, and we kind of referenced that before. Like, the event before this, the first one for set 4, there was 50% Ojiros, just like K2s at Nats. And then, just like the first real big event with K1, he was represented on all of his symbols, which is clearly at that point a testament to the character being too good, right? It's not a symbol in the character. It's the character being too efficient, being too good. And that's why they wanted more data. Last weekend, in Florida, only one made top cuts, but yet 25% or 20% of the field, I think is what we're talking about, was the character. So clearly people still thought he was good enough to get them there. But unfortunately, they either all knife fought each other in the middle rounds, or at the very least just didn't make the plays down the stretch to get there, which is a testament to the character being a little bit more luck dependent and also a little bit more pilot dependent, which is where you kind of want things a lot of times. So given that, we'll see. Do you have any other thoughts on Ojiro?
I'm okay with it, and we can move on.
Okay. So the one that caught me by surprise, because we all thought something was going to happen to Ojiro, right, was the fact that Ready, Get, Set, Go is now banned in the MHA format.
We love that one, fam.
It's not banned in other formats. So if you play Standard or you play retro or any other format, Legacy, whatever they call it, I don't know, then you can still play it. But in the MHA format, it is gone now.
Thank the maker.
I'm kind of surprised by this, man. Like, why do you hate this card?
I don't. It basically gives some decks an overwhelming advantage for going second.
Mhm.
Like, they get to build 2 turns worth of cards on 1 turn. And then it's sometimes unsurmountable in some decks. Like,
Mhm.
it's just your opponent slaps that down. Like, if it was like Cremation, where it was you can only play it once per turn, I think it would be a little more manageable.
Sure.
But when you ready, get, set, go, build 2, ready, get, set, go, check a 3, commit the 2 you just built to pass that to build 2 more, and then I had a guy play a 3rd one on me just to get it out of his hand. Yeah, that.
So let's go on record saying that dude's just clearly not thinking, because you can just review it or just actually use it on your turn to filter.
But then he reviewed an attack to draw 5. He's a 7-handers, obviously. So he drew up, built 5 more cards. So he had 9 foundations on his turn 1.
Yeah.
And then I died on his turn 2 because he was able just to pass all of his checks. No matter
So
what.
I can speak to that.
Yeah.
In my experience
That
playing
is-
this card,
that sucks.
if
I
you
hate that
ever
crap.
double do it, normally in my experience, you ought to lose that game. Because what ends up happening is it just messes up your ratios. You're like, what would have been like an attack hand that you would have drawn, you're now just checking. At least that, and I know that's just superstition. There's no actual math there to it. But every time I ever did that, because I was like, oh, dude, this double let raise it go, and we got 4 foundations.
Yeah.
Ooh, we about to build 4 on their turn. You know, like it always feels really great. And then you realize, like, oh, that sucks. But that being said, I think if they were gonna errata this card, make it a 5 diff, right? Like, make it so that it is failable on when you go to play it. And I can agree that is, from a like card design standpoint, guaranteeing that it cannot be failed, because if you run all 3s, you can just tap your character, boom, I got the 4, and then to your point, it can double respond. And then I have 2 more foundations to tap, so even if I check a 3 and I need a 5, I still got it. Like, I agree there that seems like an oversight, you know? But this is one of the only cards that we had that helps level that going first advantage, right?
Sure.
You know, like,
But the issue is they should be getting, like, if you think about it though, like, yeah, I mean, going first is always an advantage, but like, there are characters and strategies that can lend you to, if you go second, you usually do pretty well. Like, drawing that extra card, building that extra foundation, you build 5, hold 2, say you're a 6-hander or whatever. If you're a 7-hander, you draw 8. Like, oh my god, like, that's ridiculous. So, you know, it's like, that's another thing too. Like, you ready, get, set, go, and then you draw your turn, and then you draw your extra. So really, you've seen like a quarter of your deck before your first turn.
Yeah, going into your first turn to play actual cards.
Yeah, going into your first turn to play actual cards. Like, you've seen a quarter. Like, seriously, like, that's kind of nuts on turn 0.
Sure.
You know, like,
sure.
And I think the same thing. It just feels bad to play against, and I think that's more. It wasn't like a results orientated thing. It was this feels bad to play against thing.
Well, why don't we read exactly what they said about why they did it? You know what I'm saying? So they said deck building decisions and ready, get, set, go was kind of how they titled the section, right? It said the banning of ready, get, set, go may come as a surprise. It did. However, the function of the card creates an undynamic gameplay experience. Its response effect is very powerful on the first turn, allowing a player going second to surpass their opponent's resource building whenever they open with the card in their hand. Additionally, its formability is almost cost-free cycling ability that makes the impact of including the card in your strategy particularly free. So let me translate. What they're saying is that because all you have to do is check a 4 and it clears, it removes itself to filter a card. So it's basically like it's not actually taking up a slot in your deck, right? Like, unless you're using it as a high block or a 5 check, which at the same point, those are both great. You know, you're not upset about either of those. If it was like a 4/4, maybe there's a little bit more of a cost there because 4 checks aren't as good as 5s. There's a little bit more.
Block's really good too.
Yeah, maybe if it had like a +3 block on it, like there could be other ways to create some cost to playing the card, but it doesn't have those. And so because of that, and because you're able to just play it on your turn, like if you draw it, like I've had this happen before in decks that I ran it, and I'm like, oh, I have 2 ready that goes. Well, we're just going to open the turn, play that, filter out another one, play that, filter out another one. And then you draw something that's not that card, and it's more useful. So that's what they're referring to there. Normally, when you run actions or assets, and you draw a hand like that, you're kind of in this weird position of it kind of being dead weight in your hand a lot of times, which is why you don't see decks running a ton of them unless you're a character who benefits from running a ton of actions. So I get that element of it. That's fair. And then they said that means the only decision players are left with is if they can play ready, get set, go, is whether to play it in their main deck or keep it in their sideboard for all games in which they're not on the play. This is a non-decision, creates an unfun, non-play decision in deck building, and it is not the type of game decision we want players to be forced to make. As a result, we're taking a preemptive action to ban the card alongside with the shift to a Jiro to prevent it from becoming a 4 of that leads to both unfun gameplay and unfun deck building.
Sounds like they're waging war against unfun stuff. That's what it sounds like to me.
So
Bromley, they're coming for you.
Yeah. But like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't like have a problem with the idea of these being in the board for when I'm going second to help me get back in the game, because the reality is that going first is a big advantage, right? And I can see the argument for like maybe this card should have had like infinity on it. Like, why do only these 3 symbols get to do this strategy? That's an interesting point to take, and even further, that's something to definitely explore, right? But I think you could have tuned the numbers on this card, and to me, it then becomes more of a decision, because I'm not going to snap include a 5 diff action. You know, I'm not going to snap include a 4 check action. I'm not going to snap include a 5/4 with a +3 block on it. Now, will I side that in? Probably when I'm going second. Sure, I'll take some risk then because I need to get back in the game. I think your suggestion of if it could only be played once per turn, sort of like a cremation, would be totally fine. And, you know, like that's some interesting
The response,
wording.
by the way, not the form. The response. That's what I'm talking
Yeah.
about.
The response on cremation. Yeah, I get it. So that way you can't... Look, back in my day, cremation was called hop, and you got other momentum from it, and like I'm taking it way back to Street Fighter Set 1 here. So
like on Ready Get Set Go, if the build response was you can only play that like a cremation where you can only use that ability once during the turn. I think you don't see people I think you still see people playing it. You just won't see those egregious I'm building 4 on your turn.
Yeah, it's not going to be a 4x at that point. It's going to be like a 2, maybe a 3 in most decks. And you probably what you do is you main 1 or 2 and you bring in the other 1 or 2. Or you just take them out when you know you're going first or whatever. So like to me that's not I don't fully agree with there's no decision making in the process of playing the card. But there is no decision making because there is no cost. Like, so I think if it had other costs, then a card like this, let's say it that way, a card like this, an effect like this could still be in the game. You know, but there's not, so it's gone.
They did end the article with they are looking at other things. There are still open to more changes. I know a lot of the community was up in arms because One with Nature wasn't hit. I know for a fact it was being looked at. My circle of influences, my little birds have told me that it was on the chopping block, but it got taken off. So that it's something that they're gonna, because the argument is it gives those symbols ways to fight the Momos, the Eraser Heads,
right.
The Midnights, because like those symbols don't, like, granted, good has a lot of stun. Like these symbols have stun on them, but they don't have like straight speed. Like
well, it's about pushing damage through, right?
It's not,
like,
it's about pushing damage.
I can tell you, I've played in formats that were throw formats. You want to talk about a toxic format? Let's play in a throw format. Like throw formats are not fun because
Lamborn, baby.
Yeah, because then you're just like
all about that guy.
Because then you just like. Oh, to be fair, when I won my cardboard, it was with throw deck also. Just full disclosure.
I know.
So,
I know this.
And here's a testament to that. I hadn't played that deck before that weekend. All right.
One cardboard.
And I won it. So, the real takeaway there is that clearly I'm just that good, right? No. The real takeaway is that
right.
my teammates had built an incredible deck, and that throws are cheap. So
They are- they are.
yeah, so I just played the good throw character and I played a cheap deck. Sorry, got
Yeah.
there. Clearly better, right? Just not even a little bit. So what I'm getting at is that having cards that help symbols push damage through is fine.
Yeah.
I think personally, again, played with the original One with Nature when it got first introduced as a card at all in the game. And it did not make this kind of impact in the meta. It was still a hell of a card. It's always going to be a hell of a card. Adding to block mites is one of the coolest effects in our game. And
Yep.
you can't convince me differently. It's so cool. It's such a cool idea. I remember when they introduced it into the game, all right? Played that character too. She was awesome. But all that to say, there are, to your point, there is counterplay already for it. But the real underlying issue that's different now than it was back then is the amount of free card draw. Like right now, and I've been preaching this from set 1 through now, there is so much card draw in this game. And I get it. People like drawing cards. And I get it. After a point, you can't pass checks. But you know what? I don't have to get to that point when I'm just pitching cards to do other things. So it doesn't matter what the card is. I keep the good ones and I pitch the bad ones. That's a non-decision.
Yeah.
And I think what the game needs, if you want to, like, instead of just putting these band-aids on, like taking care of One with Natures or these other cards like that, is give us some real negate effects for card draw. Like, and we got a little bit, like you got League of Villains, right? League of Villains just straight up says, once per turn, commit a foundation, negate that ability, you know? And you got a few others, but they're on like really expensive assets. So they're a pretty big liability to include.
Or like even held hostage, the secret rare could be used to thwart
Mm-hmm.
like card draw. Like you take a card out of your opponent's hand.
Yeah, look at it and pick one out. Sure. But like that I think is the true underlying strength of One with Nature right now, right? Like if you're playing a deck that let's say Chaos. Chaos does not have a ton of card draw, right? So One with Nature is good in some Chaos decks. It's always good.
Yes.
In some Chaos decks, it's very good. In other ones, it's just good. And the reason is because pitching a card for +2 speed that they can't interact with is always good. That's just reality. But when that card doesn't have any real cost because you just drew another one off of it, then it becomes this like, oh, well, I just do this on every attack. Like, I'm saying this as a Midoriya 2 player who the second I saw that card, I was like, yo, this character's gonna get live. You know, like I lost it. And I've not taken it out of my deck since, and no one's gonna make me. I don't care what Jazzco says. I don't care what nobody says. It's staying in. But you know, like that character, literally, I mean, I've had games where I get like 3 or 4 of them in play. You pitch for your character ability, and it adds a speed and, you know, 6 to 7 damage. It's pretty stupid. You just win games for free.
Yep, I had that happen to me at a store championship back in the like the first run of store championships, like in November when we had them. Ben got 4 of them out by turn 2, and I was like, well, I'd die.
Yeah, that's just a free win for him. Yeah, and like, so like, again, that's a testament to how strong the card is and its interactions there. Like, I get that.
But if we didn't have this continual, well, I play a card, I draw a card, I play a card, I draw a card. Oh, I ditch my hand, I draw 3 cards. You know, like.
Even with the Midoriya scenario, which I would argue is like the best character to use that card that benefits from all aspects of it just by using his character ability, if nothing else, to add extra damage. Like, yeah, you can pitch another one for speed, but if you're pitching 2 cards per attack, guess what? I'm getting to play 2 attacks unless I have a card draw on board. So that's, I'll get off my soapbox. I won't keep preaching about it. But I think that's the underlying issue with the format at large, is that we don't have any really good ways to shut down card draw. I would love to see.
What I'm hearing is we just play Chaos Nezu because he's the only real version of card hate, right? We draw a card when they draw a card.
If they want to give me more cards, I'll do that, and then I'll pick and choose what I want on my discard pile. You know, let's do this. You heard it here first.
Nice.
Like legitimately, I would love to see a card like Novitiate come back. For any old heads listening.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, like that card just went and basically said that no one could draw cards for the rest of the turn.
Yeah.
Both you or them, and it was like a first form. So like
Yeah.
you just lock the turn down, and it was
Play with what you got.
yeah, and it wasn't like a broken card. Like it was good in some decks, very good, because then they'd play like a discard deck, right? And they try to pitch your hand. It's like, ha ha, ha, I gotcha. But I don't know. I think we're in this game version of the game is terrified to let discard be good.
Yeah.
And on the opposite end of the spectrum, it's not only can discard not be good, but also card draw needs to also be there to already counter it should it ever start to get good. So I don't know, man. I'll be interested to see what they end up hitting. Like you said, if One with Nature was on the list, then we'll see.
Like,
but
future, I mean, like as of right now, like I think, like I mean, and closing, I guess, because I guess we're kind of done talking about the bands. But
yeah,
I would say that the format's wide open. Like
right.
I know people are like, oh, the Jiros and the Tokiyamis are coming back, and I'm like, dude, if all I'm gonna face is Jiro and Tokiyami, I'm gonna go sleep. I got my midnight.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go win events with her. I'm cool with that. Like Bird, sure, Bird draws hot and kills her. Sure, I mean he does that. He could do that to anybody.
Right.
But you know what though? He throws that ruin. I go minus X amount of speed. I block.
Yeah, minimum 4.
She does not die. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, sure, I'll just play midnight from here until the cows come home.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'll be interested to see. Like I said, I think that the game is in a good spot. Is it perfect? No. And the reality is, yeah, it'll never be perfect. And even further, I guess as we kind of close it out, my closing thought and takeaway for everybody would be: look, the reality is that even when you ban or you errata cards, it's literally just like any other game. I play a ton of World of Warcraft, and class tuning happens all the time. And sometimes your class is at the top, and sometimes you at the bottom, and it just kind of ebbs and flows. And what ends up happening is it's just the next man up. Like that thing that was the second best thing, guess what? Now it's the best thing. And guess what? People are just going to complain about it also. So, like there's a certain range you want it to fall within.
So toxic, man. You know, it's just like
enjoy the game.
I don't. Go ahead. I'm sorry to cut you off.
Oh, no, you're good. I'm saying just enjoy the game, man. Like if there's a range you want them to be within, like you don't want these crazy outliers, which we've had a few of.
Yeah.
And I think they've done a good job of reacting to those outliers as they popped up. And sure, you can make an argument that there's some others that still might need to be toned down some. But at the end of the day, I've never gone to an event and be like, well, this is just impossible. I can't play the deck that I wanted to play. Do I also actively try to prepare and play a meta deck going into events? Yes. So, take it with a grain of salt, but I don't always just play whatever the de facto best deck is,
Yeah, I think that's the mistake. You need to play the deck that fits you personally, I believe. So, I played All Might 3 for a million, like almost a full year,
right.
Because it was just that character just gelled with me.
Yeah. And the thing is, there's a lot of value in this game for just putting in reps on a character and really figuring them out and tuning your deck and then just being successful. I mean, Uraraka 2 just won an RLE. Okay? So, I'm just saying, it can happen. And so, I don't know. I leave you with that, guys. Chris, any closing thoughts you want to share?
I mean, nothing I've already said already. It's just I think people need to work the problem. Then, I get it. Ojiro was an issue. That's fine.
Sure.
But right now, with your Jiro and Tokiyami boogeyman are up, play resets, play response speed stuff. Just work the fucking problem instead of complaining about it all the time. That's our one F-bomb for the episode. So, yes.
Got to keep it family friendly, man. Got to keep it family friendly.
Keep it family friendly. But, but what I'm saying is, instead of going to Facebook and being like, this card needs banned, work the problem. Come work it.
And hey,
play your deck. Just don't expect to show up with your deck with no tech in it and expect to succeed.
Right. Or even don't show up with a net deck list and then be like, it didn't do what it was supposed to do. And I'm not throwing shade at those sort of people. I get that we all have different experience levels with the game. But what I'm saying is to Chris' point, do the research, put in the time, put in the reps. If I can tell you, you'll hear it from here, and I hear it all across all the interviews with players and all sorts of stuff at different skill levels. People like Nate DeWalt and other guys at the HLC that had only been playing for the year since MHA had come out. All talk about consistently. They're like, the way I got better at the game was just about playing the game. Just keep playing it. I met a dude, and I'll close on this. I met a dude at our neighboring store, that the event that I went to last, and he was playing Kaminari 1. Okay, He's like, yeah, I just like the character. I know this deck's not super competitive, but I like the character. And after we played and I beat him, he wanted some feedback on it. He was like, so what did you think about my play? This, that, and another. And I was like, sure, man, here's what I think. And his mentality, and this dude's going to get better at this game. He's going to be a real threat. I'm just letting you know. Like, if he keeps playing it, he's going to be a real threat. Because his mentality was, yeah, I know this character's not that great, but I like the character. And also, I kind of want to play with a handicap and not just play whatever is the established best thing, because then I'm going to learn the game better and understand how to play it better. And then I'm going to start playing the broke things. And I'm like, yeah, this dude, literally was like, yeah, dude, you're going to be good. No, don't worry about that. Like, you're gonna be okay. Like,
you'll be okay. You'll be fine.
Yeah, and like, he was really cool, and I was like, this dude's a great addition to the community, because that's if you're wanting to compete in this game, that's the mentality you have to have. Like, you need to understand your deck forwards and backwards. I literally got grief one time, I'll never forget it. Garrett gave me grief about not being able to build my deck list from memory. I had to pull it up on my phone. He's like, if you can't build it from memory, you don't know your deck well enough, and you probably shouldn't play it. And I was like, all right.
That's a Garrettism right there.
I know, it was savage. But I tell you what, he's not wrong.
He's not wrong.
And that man builds some big decks, and also some very, like, he's like you. Like, he puts lots of 1X's and 2X's in his stuff.
Where do you think I learned it from?
Oh no, it all clicks now. So, but yeah, all that to say, guys, enjoy the game, play it, have some fun. That's what we'll be doing. Thank you for listening. As always, leave us your thoughts, your feedback. What do you think about the bannings? For them, against them. The erratas for it, against it. What do you think about our takes?
Keep it fan friendly though, please.
Yeah. Keep it chill. And we're all friends here. And also, make sure to like and subscribe and do all the algorithm things down below.
Algorithm things.
And we'll catch up with you guys later.
See you on the next episode.
Peace. See ya.